Hey everyone, this is Kit Cabello with Hard Lens Media, and I have a very special exclusive interview for all of you today. Joining me here is an activist and political candidate as well, who's running for the Florida 24th Congressional District, who's also going to be participating in the Force the Vote protest between January 2nd and the 4th. Christine Olivo, thank you so much for joining Hard Lens Media. We are very happy to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much, Kit, for having me. I'm really honored to be here.
So I think it's very important that we break this down. Christine, you're running as a Democrat within the 24th Congressional District in the state of Florida. For our viewers and subscribers, can you just give us a background to, number one, who you are and why you are running for this office? And what are some of the issues impacting the people of the 24th Congressional District in Florida?
Yes, so I am a regular person. I literally tell everyone that I am a regular person fighting for regular people. I was born and raised here in the district in Miami. For those that don't know, District 24 covers Miami all the way into Broward. So you've got but it's all of the areas of Miami that are low income, mostly. Of course, gerrymandering. So our district is hurting. If you want to talk about the issues that we're facing right now, we need immediate economic relief. Our businesses have closed down. Families, the lines for the food drives are maybe wrapped around 2 blocks. I know, I just came from one. So we're struggling. We were struggling before the pandemic, and we're struggling even more now. When I say that we're low-income cities, I'm telling you, we have so many families that live 2 to 3 families in a household. So that is what we're dealing with here in District 24. And I'm running because it was just time. I grew up in the area. I grew up seeing my family struggle. I cannot see that life for my children or for your children or for any of our children. I want better. And the only way to do that is to just throw your name in the hat.
So I think when a lot of people think of Miami, they think of a prosperous city. I mean, it's the same thing for
Yes.
all cities here in the United States. But sadly, no one really takes into account of the huge income inequality that impacts especially a lot of working class communities, most notably African American and Latino communities. So I think just for our viewers to understand the bigger picture, economically, what is happening to a lot of the small businesses in the impoverished areas in the city of Miami, as well as in the outlying areas that also are part of the 24th Congressional District in Florida?
So mainly small businesses, and I know because I'm also a small business owner, a lot of small businesses before COVID, it's not that it was so difficult to get by, but it was kind of hard to get the word out. A lot of the small businesses in the area, they're mom and pop shops that have been around for so long. They probably don't have the funding for marketing. They probably don't have the kind of team that bigger corporations would have. So it's all word of mouth, right? So now insert COVID, everybody's home. Nobody's going anywhere. Whatever you relied on before, you can't rely on that now. So in order for them to survive, they need better marketing. They need to be able to protect their businesses. They need all this funding, and the funding's not there for them because the SBA loans that were given out for COVID relief, they were credit. They were based on your credit. A lot of the families here have liquidated everything to save their businesses, and their credit is not that great. So a lot of the businesses here did not get approved for the loans to save their businesses. So that is why a lot of businesses have closed recently. Just in the past month or so, we've had a lot of businesses closing down.
Now, for our viewers, I think it's important that we also bring this up. Who is the current incumbent that's representing the 24th Congressional District? And more importantly, has this incumbent, what's been their outreach to the constituents? Have they held any town halls or meetings with their voters or the people that they're supposed to represent?
The incumbent is Frederica Wilson. And many people know her as the hat lady. She wears cowboy hats. That's her signature look. Frederica Wilson held a town hall in March.
Well, it's not March anymore.
And that is the end of that story.
No, that's nothing to laugh at, but I think it's very sad to see that that's the situation.
Yeah.
Knowing that, and again, with the information we have here, she's been in power since 2011 up until now. So that's when she was voted in 2011. So since then, no other community meetings, no other outreaches, no messages in regards towards what's happening, no further talks about additional stimulus checks for the.
You know what? There was a town hall, I think, when Kamala Harris was in town. She did a town hall again. I do believe that she did one then to give everybody an update. And I believe that that was somewhere, it was around summertime. Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, I'm just going to be honest here. We need to completely revamp the party. We need to revamp those that are sitting in Congress. Mm-hmm. We don't have time for that right now. What I love about Miami is that everyone's so resilient. So we're not waiting for a town hall. We're not waiting for anyone to tell us what we need to do. The community has come together. Today, I was just with an organization that they are going to try to help save some of the small businesses. I was with another organization. They're helping to get food to the families that desperately need it. We're trying to do what we can, but having congressional support makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. It's harder to get people together from all over, but when you have the power to just make a phone call, you know, that shows all the difference. So I went to Frederica Wilson's office about 2 weeks ago. I went to her office. It is still closed since COVID. I went there with a group. We went there to demand that action be taken because we feel that our state government is lacking. Our governor, Ron DeSantis, is not taking COVID seriously. It's almost as if COVID doesn't exist, but there's a lot going on. People are still suffering. People are still dying. People need money. They need food, and we need it now. So I went to the office hoping that after the election, that maybe they would be reopened, that things would be happening, and nothing. I left a message. I was so disappointed, and I came home and said, what more do we have to do? What more do we have to do to beg for help, to literally plead for help? You don't answer our calls. You're not there in your office. What can we do? So, like I said, we're doing the best we can. We come together as a community. We feed who we can. We help who we can, but that's all we can do.
Right. Now, I want to ask you just a few more questions about your campaign, especially as you are running in the 24th Congressional District. We covered this not only during the 2018 midterm election cycle, but also during the 2020 presidential election cycle, especially for candidates that are running for the House, on how the DCCC is basically, or was at the point, I don't know if under new leadership they have different policies, but at least in 2020, the DCCC had a policy of supporting the incumbents only and trying to push out any kind of Democratic challengers. Has your campaign received any kind of pushback from the DCCC? What kind of challenges is your campaign facing right now to get signatures, to get people to volunteer, especially as there's a lot of fear surrounding COVID-19 and these various different variations of COVID-19 that's now being reported?
So when I ran previously this past election, there was a lot of pushback. There was an email that was sent out to all political consultants, political advisors, that they were not to consult with anyone running against an incumbent. So I could not find anyone to be on my team. It was pretty bad. This time around, we're starting so early. All the incumbents haven't registered yet. We don't know if they're running again. So right now, we're in a good place. I have to be honest. We're in a good place. I'm able to get petitions because people remember me from the last election. I'm getting petitions signed regularly. And I'm doing little by little. I'm pacing myself. I have to be very strategic this time around. They do not want to help anyone running against an incumbent. I don't understand it, especially when your incumbent is not delivering for the people that they represent. You would want some new energy, some new blood, someone that's going to go in and fight. But no, for them, it's all about their power and making sure that it stays within the people that have already signed up to I guess, sort of the relationships that they've all been accustomed to.
Hmm. Now, when we look at the Democratic Party, there's always been this pushback to stopping progressives. A lot of our audience would probably ask you, why are you then running as a Democrat when we've seen, Democrats constantly getting smeared? There's clear examples of election fraud where progressives who are running against an incumbent, their votes disappear, or all of a sudden they don't have the proper ballot signatures. For our viewers, can you at least explain to them why you are running in the Democratic Party and what kind of assurances can you give them so that you won't be co-opted by the establishment? Because there's a lot of fear with this two-party system that people say one thing and then when they get into office, well,
It's
someone's
something
calling
completely
Nancy
different.
Pelosi Mama Bear.
Love that. So I ran as a non-party affiliate the first time around.
Mhm.
I tried to be the one to stand out. And it was a great experience. But I want to tell everyone the reason why I am running as a Democrat is because this is a blue district and they vote blue no matter who. The goal is to get in. We can make the change. We can do the things that we feel in our heart is right to do for the people, but we can't do that if we don't get in. I would love to reassure you, top to bottom, that I would never become establishment, but I want my actions to speak for itself. And I challenge everyone to hold me accountable once I do get in. I'm not afraid to speak out against Nancy Pelosi. I will not call her Mama Bear ever, period. But hold me accountable, just like we're going to hold AOC accountable this weekend.
Okay, and that's a perfect segue to actually get into this. So, first, we are dealing with a crisis the likes of which we have never seen in this country. COVID-19 has clearly shown that our social safety nets, our healthcare, our entire economy here within the United States is nothing but smoke and mirrors. Millions of Americans are at risk. 30 to 40 million are at risk of being evicted at the end of January 31st. Our health insurance is tied to our jobs. Millions of Americans are on unemployment. It's already a perfect storm that's starting to brew. And now there is talk of hashtag force to vote. And
Yes.
on January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, you, Christine, will be participating with the protests for hashtag force to vote with people like Nico House, Fiorella Isabella, and so many other heroes that are heroically speaking out and saying that we need to do hashtag force to vote. Why are you with hashtag force to vote? Because what we're seeing from larger, I guess, blue checkmark people on Twitter and even from the Democrats is that, well, we don't have time to do this. This is a bad idea. Why are you in support for hashtag force to vote? Why is this a fight worth fighting for?
If not now, then we will never get this opportunity again. This is the moment when we literally have nothing else left to lose. We go in, we make our demands, and we fight for what we want. We are at that place in history, this moment where we can either stay silent and keep getting the scraps that we get from our government, or we can stand up and make our voices heard. I love the passion behind Force the Vote because it brings the power back into the people's hands. It brings the power back to us saying, wait a minute. We want healthcare and we don't want to wait another 10 years, 12 years for you to become, to get more money, more donations from these big corporations and forget about the people. That is what we have been told year after year after year. Okay, wait, this is not the time. Let me tell you something. Now is the time. We literally have hundreds and thousands of people dying in the middle of a pandemic. If we cannot prove that we need healthcare now, then when?
Mm-hmm. Now, on the show for Heartlands Media, myself and Daniel, we have said that we are in full support for hashtag force to vote. But I just, again, hearing from the other side, the perspective, and I don't believe in that perspective. I think we do need to do hashtag force to vote. But let me ask you this question. A lot of critics of hashtag force to vote have said, number one, they're saying that this is about Jimmy Dore's ego and pride. Number two, they're saying that this is not the time to do it because it's going to hurt the Democrats. And then number three, it's going to impact the Biden administration and maybe make the Democrats look bad. What is your counter argument to those who are very critical of this movement right now for hashtag force the vote.
When have the Democrats cared if we look bad? When we're out here begging for more than $600, I don't see anyone, I mean, other than Bernie Sanders, I don't see anyone out there fighting for us. I'm not worried about who we're making look bad. This isn't oh, you know, we're buddy and we're friends and I don't do that to my friend. No, we're trying to survive here. This is not about the Biden administration. He's already going to be in. He's not worried about us. He has his job coming up. He can't lose it. He's got it. So we're not making anyone look bad. This is the thing. We should have done this before the Biden administration got in. We should have done this in order to secure a vote. We should have made our demands heard. We actually have lost a little bit of leverage because of the Biden administration. So I'm sorry. I don't talk to me about Georgia and how this can affect the Georgia elections. This is not any of that. And then for you to say that this is for Jimmy Dore's ego, what good does he have? What comes out of it for him? How does he benefit from this fight? How does he benefit from this? What, just stirring the pot? He doesn't benefit from this. The people benefit from this, because I guarantee you, we go there, we force the vote, and by the grace of God, let's say that it passes. No one's going to be saying, oh, wow, Jimmy Dore only this for his ego. Everyone's going to be saying, I might have health care. Like, you're not going to be thinking about Jimmy Dore's ego when you get to go into the hospital because you have an emergency and you don't have to dish out thousands and thousands of dollars for it. You're not going to be thinking about Jimmy Dore's ego. You're going to be thanking him.
Right. And, you know, at the end of the day, we need to do hashtag force the vote. I want to ask you just a few just additional questions in regards to this protest that's going to be taking place. You know, one of the things that we've seen some critics say that, well, if the Democrats do force the vote, let's say all the 15 progressives that are on the forcethevote.org petition, there are 15 congressmen and women that are progressives from AOC to Ro Khanna, that are on that list. Let's say they withhold their vote. Some people said, well, that's going to give the speakership to the Republicans.
It's not possible.
Can you elaborate just a little bit on how, just because I think a lot of people usually fall for that propaganda and think, well, then Republicans will take over. Can you elaborate on that?
So the Democrats have the House, meaning that there's more Democrats elected into the House than there are Republicans elected into the House. So the majority becomes the speaker. Whichever party has the majority, that party, they pick a speaker to represent the House. It doesn't matter if they withhold the vote. There will be another Democrat that they have to nominate as the speaker. It would never go to a Republican ever, period.
Okay. Now,
and if it did, sorry, I'm so sorry. But if it did go to Republican, well, guess what? Put some pressure on, then put the vote down. You know, but I mean, that would never happen that way. But either way, what I would say to the person that makes that case, like, what are we so afraid of?
There's another thing too that we should bring up too, and that is the fact that there is the idea that if Medicare, let's say Nancy Pelosi does actually do the unthinkable and actually put Medicare for all for a vote on the floor, well, a critic of it would say, well, like, okay, well, what then? It's not going to pass in the House. What is the significance of a vote for Medicare for all for a vote, whether it passes or fails? Why is it fundamentally important? Because we've been arguing that it is fundamentally important, that it'll shine a light on the corrupt politicians that vote no, especially ahead of a pandemic. But what else is fundamentally important about a vote for the Medicare for all bill on the House floor if Nancy does it?
Because it will show that our government cares about our well-being. It will show that our government wants us to have health care. It will show that for once, they are not in the pockets of, you know, these big healthcare industry. It's not about Blue Cross. It's not about, you know, all these other places. It is about the American people. That is what it would show, that their main concern is for us to live healthy and to live, period.
Now, we've seen some videos on social media about potentially Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman potentially, they haven't fully said it, but potentially withholding their vote for Nancy as being Speaker of the House. If you had the chance to speak to Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, let's also throw in the squad too, because their names are on that list for 15 progressives on the forcethevote.org. Let's say you talk to Representative Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib, Ayanna Presley, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. What would you say to them in regards towards asking them to hashtag force the vote against Nancy? What kind of conversation would you have in order to bring them onto the full agreement with this fight that we're trying to do?
The first thing I would say is just say it. When I saw Jamal and Corey's interview, and they were sort of dancing around it, but you saw that they were in support. They were very careful. It was like a PR move. Very careful with the words that they use. Just say it. That's it. That would be the first thing that I say. Just say it. Make your decision and let the American people know. And the second thing I would say is, this is what you ran on. This is your moment to show and prove to everyone that you're not just another politician that says things and then does something different, that you are actually sticking to your guns and that you are going to push for all of us to have healthcare.
Mm-hmm. Now, and another thing too that we have to address in regards towards healthcare in this country, and that is Biden himself has said that he would veto a Medicare for all bill. Now, he said that not once but 4 times, and already it kind of seems like the Democrats are still trying to be combative towards progressives and independents, even though we're not for progressives and independents. Biden and Kamala Harris would not be in the White House right now. What are some of the consequences and repercussions that would happen to the Democratic Party if they choose not to do force the vote and if they choose to run on austerity politics? What will be the horrible outcome? What will be the outcome?
Well, I mean, maybe there's a chance that they may feel like they'll look stupid because, you've got a Democratic House, you've got a Democratic Senate, hopefully, and then you have a Democratic president, and it gets vetoed. But one thing I would say is, oh, well, if you're going to override for a military budget, then why don't you override for Medicare for all? Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. Show your strength.
All right, and I think that's a very good note to end it on, especially in regards to it. So, final question in regards to the force to vote. Many of our viewers may want to know, well, where if they want to participate or share anything in regards to what's going to happen on January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, because I do want to talk more about your campaign. On January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th for Force the Vote, where can people go to share any kind of information? Where can it go? And who else will be speaking at this event so that, more people are aware of, hey, this is a big moment. Where can people find more information?
So I get all my information from Jackson Hinkle. You can go to his Twitter feed at Jackson Hinkle. And you just look up the hashtag Force the Vote. It is trending. It's powerful. Everyone's using it. There's an image out there that has all the speakers that are going to be there. So I just go on Twitter. It's all over. Force the Vote. And if you're in DC, we're going to be at Justice Park.
All right. Well, I think that's a very good piece of information for a lot of our viewers to know about. And I think everyone's really excited the fact that here we have a congressional representative, or congressional candidate to be more precise, a congressional candidate standing in solidarity with the demands of the people, because we are long overdue to have single-payer health care. It's a crisis that the richest country in the world cannot provide health care to its citizens. So I think what we see here is, 1, you're for Medicare for all. 2, obviously you're for universal basic income because you're talking about the stimulus checks. I want to talk about some of your other campaign issues, and I think we are running short on time, but I want to at least give you a chance to speak about this. You're talking about racial justice. Now, already the Biden administration has yet to sit down with members of Black Lives Matter. What if you were to potentially win your race in the 24th district in Florida, congressional district in Florida, what will be your policy in regards to dealing with police corruption, police brutality, and racial justice? Because I think we need to continue on with this conversation. The George Floyd protest, it's only the beginning. This conversation, this talk, it's not over yet.
I mean, it's the beginning, but I almost feel like it's fizzled out. And that's the part that's frustrating with me. My number one concern: we need to end qualified immunity. We need a national database for police officers that are, discharged and still able to go to another city and get a job as a police officer. I think that we just I can give you a list of everything we need to do, but the one thing that I wish our administration would do is take it seriously. We have been given a pacifier for so long. Every single time something happens with police brutality, we get a pacifier. Okay, let's do this, let's ban the chokehold, or let's do that. But we're tired of just getting a pacifier so we can stop protesting. We want real change. And that's where I'm hoping that Kamala Harris will come into play, because she was at those protests. She was saying that she wanted police reform. And when they had their meeting with the civil rights leaders, I didn't hear a word. I didn't hear one word. And yes, I do believe that if a police force is showing discrimination against people of color, then we need to withhold funding. Mm-hmm. We need to pour more into our communities. So these are the things that I would really push.
So, and I think what we need to realize too is that, when people say defund the police, we heard from a lot of commentators on corporate media saying that that's a bad thing, that's going to ruin Democrats. What is your counter argument to those who are against the notion of defunding the police?
Well, my number one argument is, in the Civil Rights Act, there's a section, Title VI, that says that if there's any discrimination happening within an agency that receives federal funding, then the government can withhold that funding. Mm-hmm. I understand, and people are like, well, how can you prove that's discrimination? How can you not? How can you not prove racial profiling? How can you not prove that we are having more Black and brown men and women die at the gunshot of a police officer than any other race? Mm-hmm. So it's in our law. It has never been exercised, and I think that it's time for us to say, listen, we're not going to give federal dollars for you to go out, hunt, and kill American citizens, regardless of color.
Mm-hmm. All right. And now I want to focus on another question as well. And you're talking about ending war now. Now, as we all know, the military-industrial complex gets a lot of our budget. Potentially, should you get into the 24th Congressional District as a representative, what are you prepared to do to call out and challenge the military-industrial complex? Because it buys and owns both parties. It has influence over the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. What are you prepared to do to really challenge the military-industrial complex and basically take away some of their funding and ending these regime change wars?
The one thing that I can promise is I will not be voting. I will not be voting for any sort of funding for these regime change wars, for going in and taking over Venezuela, or giving money to all these other foreign countries that are just fighting for our oil, that are bombing innocent civilians. You're going to get a no from me each and every single time. That is the best that I can promise right now. I would love to be able to trickle that energy out to the other members of Congress, but I just know that I will stand firm.
And then a final question before we get to the real final question: is your campaign publicly financed? Where do you stand on super PACs? What can you give us that answer for our viewers and subscribers?
Every single dollar that I've gotten, that I've received from my campaign, is from individual, hardworking people that are in the community, both in my community and throughout the U.S. Mm-hmm. I have never received a super PAC dollar, and I don't ever plan on receiving a super PAC dollar, or any PAC for that matter. I only want donations from individuals. And my main reasoning behind that is I don't want to be indebted to anyone but the people.
All right. And I think so far, I'm very interested to see how everything turns out for January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th when you are standing in solidarity with so many other brave people in regards to fighting for Force to Vote. For our viewers and subscribers, where can they learn more about your campaign, find you online? What social media links can you give us so that we can learn more about your campaign? And also, again, for our viewers and subscribers, if they want to learn more about the January 2nd through 4th Force to Vote protests, where can they go?
Well, to learn more about me, you can go to www.christineforcongress.org. You can find me on Twitter at Christine FOR24, which is just Christine 424. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Christine for Congress, and that's for spelled out FOR Congress. For Force the Vote, like I said, you can go to at Jackson Hinkle on Twitter, and you can just look up the hashtag Force the Vote. We will be there, Justice Park. We start at 9 a.m., the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th. So come out to Justice Park.
I think that's a good note to end it on. And you definitely are somebody that we should keep an eye on. I wish you all the best on your campaign. And the answer is yes, we need to hold everyone accountable should they get into office. And we do invite you to come back onto our show again, as well as potentially, dare I say it, Representative Christine Olivo being on our show. We would love to have you back on. With that being said, please be safe for the Force to Vote protest. But I think I could speak on behalf of a lot of people who don't have health insurance. Thank you for doing this and fighting the good fight. With that being said, this is Kid Cabello. Peace, you guys, and let us all do what we can to build a better future.